Hello everybody, welcome back to the table. Here we have the Mustang Quick Angle Kit from Duncan Motors, duncanperformance.com. On the website it says the kit fits a 99 to 04 or a 96 to 98 with 99 to 04 A-arms. I know that they are the same length. There's just a little bit difference in clearance. So this will be a little bit of a test, and we're going to put this on a Foxbody with the 99 to 04 front A-arms. I guess we can get right into the adapters themselves. So they're supposed to do 15 to 20 degrees of angle over stock, which is not necessarily enough to be a competition car, but for a jam, a fun track day car, this should be just about perfect. So they act as a drop spindle as well as giving a little bit extra angle. So we can see here the two pickup points, the ball joint, and then the tie rod end from the factory. And then being a little bit shorter gets us that added steering quickness as well as the little increased angle. I have one here. Well, I guess we'll take a step back and say that these are supposed to be made for factory style arms, factory style knuckles. So what it was recommended is to drill these out to the 5/8 bolt. John was also kind enough to send along a set of tapered to straight bolts here. So these are not drilled out to 5/8 then. These are just the same outer tie rod taper here, then just using the bolt to have the added, I guess similar to the bump steer kits would be. So looking at this one here, I guess we can kind of see from a top view anyway, this one's just kind of mocked up here. It actually shifts the ball joint point a little further forward, as well as picks it up off the car. So there would be the drop spindle angle, then it's actually going to raise the spindle in relation to the control arm. So it should keep the control arm flatter while still having a lower ride height. So moving the ball joint slightly forward then is going to give us a little bit more of the caster, so hopefully going to help with the self-steer a little bit more of the angles that we're looking for here. The one thing I've noticed so far is they're really well machined parts. No signs of welding or these being pieced together parts. This is all machined out of a block of aluminum. They are aluminum. Seems like there's a couple tool marks, but the machining work is done really well. So the one thing I did notice on the quick mock-up here with this one is the lip on the ball joint here fits really nicely, really snugly into the ball joint location on the factory knuckle there. So he also did send along the washers and then the rest of the bolts that come in the kit. So looks like it's pretty well put together. Yeah, just kind of excited to see what they're going to look like on the car. So hang around for the next one. We'll install them and we'll see how it looks and what it does. So before we get to actually installing the angle kit, I'm going to run through what I ended up doing for inner and outer tie rod ends. These are both the factory inners and then outers from a 2002 Mustang. So we'll see how that all works out with thread engagement and length, being that this is a Foxbody rack with the 99 to 04 control arms on there. So before we get into going that, I'm not necessarily sure if it's something we should be doing, but planning to cut a little bit of these inner tie rods out. So I guess you can see the hole there, not really focused very well. Anyway, just below that hole is where the threads actually start engaging. There's about 3/16 or so of a lip on the face of the tie rod end before it hits the thread. So what I'm going to do is try and shave some of that off. And this should allow the tie rod end to travel further into the rack, thus allowing us a little bit more angle. Not so sure if this will be measurable or if this is going to be causing problems in the future, but just to keep you guys up to speed with what's going on, that's my plan for this now. Worst case scenario, I buy another set of inners that aren't trimmed and pop those in. So we'll set up, make some marks, and then we'll get these trimmed out here. So as we can see, I was trying to get about halfway up that hole there. Maybe it's tough to see anyway, but yeah, halfway up the hole. These are still fairly greasy, so my tape didn't really stick. I think the biggest things going forward with this will just be trying to cut this flat, parallel to the surface that was here already, as well as trying not to induce a ton of heat. So for lack of a better tool, I've got a cutoff wheel on an angle grinder, but we'll just rip through that slowly and try and dip it in the snow every now and then to try and keep it all cool. So we'll move over to the vise. So I thought this is pretty interesting. Here's one of the old inner tie rod ends off of the Foxbody rack. Here's one of the 99 to 04s next to it. Putting, say, mating face to mating face, I guess we can see there's that inch, maybe even inch and a half longer. Not sure how this is going to pan out going forward, but a little bit of information on it, and then something that I've noticed. So let's get to cutting this one. And there we are. That's as much as I cut off there. I'm going to go through with a file and just clean this up. Try and file it a little bit more flat, and as well as take off all the burrs. You can see I left both here and here are the holes, possibly set screw holes, but I made it almost tangent to the bottom face. That one's a little bit higher there, but as you can see, that was the amount of material. As you can see, that was the amount of material that came off the top there. You know, plus the thickness of the blade, which is also, you know, roughly an 1/8 inch or so. Not a ton, but just enough. Yeah, I'll clean them all up, throw some grease in there, and I'll get through on the next one. So now we're over here with the car. We have the mocked up quick angle kit here on the knuckles, the factory knuckles. So get rid of a couple of these washers for a second. Just gonna mock everything up, see how it all fits together. So these were, like I said, factory. These were junkyard control arms here. So the ball joints as well as the bushings were all shot. So that was quite the task to replace the bushings. Ball joint was super straightforward, but we made it through. I guess we'll start by grabbing the hardware from the kit. And we'll run a bolt through the old ball joint location, throw the nut on the bottom side. Throw this on the location of the new ball joint. Fits on there nice. Run the nut up here. So what I'm doing is just kind of throwing this together in the sense that nothing's going to be tight. Obviously I'm going to run through and torque these all to factory specs if applicable. Obviously some of these are going to be a little bit different, but for the most part it should all be the same here. We've got the new tie rod in the inner tie rod. That all went in just fine. Spin the new outer on. No idea how far these need to go. Another one of those that should seem obvious. We're going to put the car together and then set the alignment afterwards, toe being one of those. I have no idea where to start with toe adjustment on this one, so we'll just go for it. Okay, pull the old caliper down. Should have mentioned previously, but this is getting all the brake system came off of that. That was a 2002 Mustang that I got the control arms, the knuckles, as well as the brakes for it. So this is just hanging on here right now just so that I don't be not spilling fluid everywhere. So I'm gonna grab one of the new coilovers and we'll see if we can get that fit in and mocked up. So it looks like there is a small bit of play between the spindle itself and then the body of the coilover. So I'm going to run these spacers that had come with the kit. All right, well, I think for right now, this is kind of where I want to be. I'll throw a rotor on here. Obviously, I don't have the calipers yet. The calipers out of the junkyard ones were actually totally shot, so I'm just gonna slip a rotor on to get the spacing right, and then we'll bolt a wheel on and see what this all looks like. And these wheels here, I guess coming from the 4-lug stuff, I was just looking for a set of wheels that was 5x114 that were round. And let's say this fit the bill. Not the most stylish looking wheels I've ever seen. Definitely not the end game for this car, but it's enough to roll it around the garage, so that's where we're at. I guess as the initial test fit here, before I even put lugs on, because we don't even need them to see what's going on, but get you off the tripod. Definitely push the wheel forward. So I guess backing up here, see it from the side. Ride height is obviously not right. That's got to come down another, 2-3 inches or so, but pushed a little far forward. So I guess we'll see when I get everything torqued on and put together. I guess we'll come back to an update then. We'll see you soon.